It's Q&A time. Welcome, humble runners. You've got questions, I've got answers. I've got a few extra things to talk about, stuff that's in for test, racing shoe picks, races that I will be doing in the upcoming week. So let's get into it right away. The first thing I have to talk about today is these fresh new shades I have on my face. These are the Bollé Victus Pro 100% UV protection. These are photochromic lenses, so they adjust to the light. Depending on what's going on right here, you may see these change color from darker shade of rose here to a lighter if it gets cloudy. They have a Fit Tech temple design here, kind of cool. This section on the back is kind of closer to my head there. It gives a nice secure fit. I actually coached an elementary track regional meet yesterday, manning the softball throw, chasing softballs around, measuring all over the place, bright sunshine for a couple of hours. Had these on, perfectly great. So again, these just came in yesterday, super cool. I haven't had a really expensive or nice even pair of shades to test in a while, so I'm excited to have these. Have a race coming up this weekend, we'll talk about it later. I'll be wearing these, and I'll be wearing them now. Moving on, big topic, VJ Ultra 3. Talked about that in my last Q&A. I did have a lot of questions. I received my sample pair of the VJ Ultra 3 in the mail. I tried them on, but I had an issue. Sizing was a little bit off. I have a few VJ models here. This has been a bugaboo of mine with VJ, and I'm sure others too. VJ Extreme 2, VJ Lightspeed, VJ Max X2, Max 2, recent models. Also have the previous version, VJ Ultra 2 here. So let's talk about the sizing. All of these shoe models from VJ that I have are my correct size. I think I exchanged this one. I think I might have had a smaller size when I originally got it, but now this is a 10.5. I do not typically wear a 10.5, but this shoe fits me in a 10.5. I believe I originally got a test sample in a 10, and with the taper of the toe box, I had also tested the first version of this shoe. Perhaps that was the one that was too tight, and I knew that I needed a 10.5 in this one. So 10.5 here, perfect sizing. Hold that thought. Extreme 2, again, 10.5, perfect sizing. These are mountain-oriented shoes, okay? You want to make sure you're not at half thumbs width. You're going to be jamming up your toes. You want to have minimum 3/4 thumbs width, likely a full thumbs width in these type of shoes for these type of conditions that are indicated by this butyl rubber outsole here. So these two 10.5. We were told with the latest models, VJ had changed their sizing a bit, perhaps brought them in line with other brands. Caveat, this one was going to run a little bit big. So we had extensive discussions when the samples were going out. VJ Lightspeed, US 9.5. My true to size is US 9.5. This is the only VJ shoe that I have in my true to size. Fits great. This shoe also fits me great. US 9.0. So 9, 9.5, 10.5, 10.5. What do I do with the VJ Ultra 3? No idea. I ordered a US 9.5. This is what happened. VJ Ultra 3 here. I'm gonna take a look at the sizing. It's a bit interesting. Okay, first length. Length is good in my 9.5. 2/3, maybe for Ultra. I could perhaps want a little bit more, but it's a comfortable length for me. If you'll notice, my big toe is here, and the side of the shoe is here. There's kind of nothing over here. This shoe, for me, oddly, the shoes seem to point in, but my foot seems oriented the way these lace tongues are oriented, out. Even though I think the length is good, the front of my toes are pretty much up against the side here. And if I flex here, I am really jammed and crammed over here. I have requested a larger size here. I'm gonna get a US 10 for testing, but I gotta see how these work out because my foot is oddly oriented out to the side while there seems to be, for me, my foot is not here. There's nothing here. My foot is angled this way and the shoe is going this way. So as you can see, that did not work out so well. Honestly, I've never had a shoe kind of fit in such a way before. If I'm looking at this shoe, and as you saw, my foot was angled this way and I had enough space in front of the toes, but it was just, my foot was oddly oriented inside the shoe. Felt completely off. I don't know what's gonna happen when I get the US 10. That would actually be correct sizing, I would say, for me, because the 9.5, the length in front of the toe box felt good for me. It was just the orientation. My little toes were kind of like smashing up on the side, especially when I flexed the shoe. I was really getting pushed into that outer side of the toe box. But if that fits me in a 10, I would say that would kind of be more in line with standard sizing. So that would be one good aspect about it. I just hope perhaps with that 10, however my foot is oriented in the bigger size, I just hope it feels like a normal shoe. So that's something that's on the way, something I'm very much looking forward to. I had a lot of comments about that shoe, so looking forward to getting those on my feet finally. Aero Glide 3 gravel sizing. I have a question. This one comes from Cross46. As a road running shoe, you think the Salomon is a great do-it-all? How was the fit? I've heard people go down half a size. So we're talking about this gravel shoe again. This shoe is coming out May 1st. That's a couple weeks from now. I've got these in a US 9.5. Check out my comparison video between this shoe and the Mafate X again. I have never worn a Salomon shoe in a US 9. I think it depends on how you typically wear your shoes. I would not recommend sizing down. If you note in that video, there was one section where I kind of pulled over to the side and I noted I was getting my pinky side rubbing a little bit on the outer edge. But overall, the structure of the shoe, there's not much of a secure trail-oriented foothold. So to answer your question here, Crows46, I think it is a great do-it-all shoe because the shoe is very lightweight, very flexible. This is a great road shoe. Perhaps, you know, you're getting a little bit more rubber and maybe a little bit of lugs that you don't necessarily need as a primary road shoe, but as a shoe that's going to double for kind of easier trails, rail trails, smooth dirt, and, you know, maybe extended sections of road, I think this would be an excellent pick. But again, I would not go down in sizing. I have another question here, and this is along the same lines. This comes from Guillaume Covat. This is from Instagram. Hi Mike, I am between two sizes, US 10 and 10.5. What is your recommendation for the Aero Glide gravel? So this is a situation I'm talking about if you're between two sizes, as I typically am. So I'm usually in between a US 9.5 and a US 10. Okay, let's forget about VJ right now. In most regular shoes, I'm a 9.5 or a 10. So if that is your situation, definitely go with the lower size. I think he also mentioned, I like a snug fit and I got a narrow foot, but sometimes in some shoes I need a tiny bit more length with the US men's size 10. That's pretty much my situation. In a 9.5, which would be equivalent to his 10 here, in a 9.5, I feel like I'm slightly jammed up at the front. So especially ultra distances, sometimes I want a bit more comfort, I go for a 10. So Guillaume here, if you're between a 10 and a 10.5, definitely stick with the 10. You'll get, you know, as good a foothold as you can get with this shoe. If you go up to the higher end of your range, you know, this shoe will likely feel a little bit insecure on your foot. All right, next question comes here from Sean Gilbert. How wide are these? And there's a picture there of the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. I have a follow-up question. This is from Rock Run South Korea Running Adventures. I've been seeing, he's been responding to some of my stuff, and I've been seeing some of his stuff. It looks like he has a kind of cool operation going on in South Korea. South Korea looks pretty cool as a place for trail running. He mentioned length felt good, half size bigger, but too tight here. So again, a lot of this stuff is going to vary on your foot shape. I think the Prodigio Pro is a wide shoe if you go a full size up from true to size. So again, I mentioned my true to size is US 9.5. These are a 10.5. At a 10, I would definitely be jammed up in front like I talked about earlier. I think he said here he went a half size bigger, so definitely can see that. He got a little squeezed here, so I would imagine if you go a full size up, you'll probably get a little extra here, certainly a little extra in the length. So again, my recommendation on the Prodigio Pro is a full size up from your true to size. Okay, moving on. Also, I see a mention, this one comes from RMS, bunch of those. Also, I see mention of the Prodigio Pro toe box. My tip here is to look at the group of closely spaced lacing holes at the front of the shoe. Out of the box, I was feeling compression just behind the metatarsals, like swelling pressure. I relaced to skip the 2 outermost lacing holes with a straight instead of cross lacing between the other 2. And that pressure has now gone away. Very happy. This is at a half size up. My usual La Sportiva size. Okay, so he's a half size up. He has experience. If you've run in La Sportiva before, you'll perhaps have a better idea. So he mentioned, I believe probably these outer ones here, they do give you kind of like 2 inner lacing eyelets here and then 2 outer ones. So I haven't had a problem with this shoe. The fit is like really perfect for me. I like the roomy, wide feel, but you could definitely play around here. I think he meant skipping these outer ones, and I believe it may be called box lacing, where instead of going across to the next row, you lace it under and up to the next row, so you kind of create a box where you have no laces crisscrossing, and you can do this in different areas along the eyelets. Okay, this one, you see you have this section down here. You can probably play around with the lacing here if you did get pressure around this area. So I would go check out his comment there, or screenshot that up on the screen if you want to have some ideas about where you might want to play around in this shoe, or perhaps other shoes. I think it's called box lacing, so somebody double check me on that one. Speaking of lacing, my Arcteryx Norval LD for Gore-Tex, I have a video out where I went on a test run. I was also wearing this UltrAspire Alpha vest here, testing the shoe here, and Arcteryx sizing is a little bit different. They definitely run large, so you have to get a smaller size. They have a very detailed sizing chart. Someone pointed this out to me, I believe, on their website, where they have it seems like they primarily go with the US sizing, and then they give the equivalent Euro sizing, which is not what they kind of manufacture. So in my US 9 here, again, I tried Arcteryx shoes. I don't remember which model. I tried a pair on at TRE, and I made a note that I definitely needed to go down a half size. When the sample offerings came in, I went down to a US 9 in this one. Check out my test video. Got close-ups of me running in the shoe, close-ups of kind of the fit. Length is good, very secure, snug fit. Euro sizing here is 42 2/3. I mentioned in that video that I did get some pressure here. It's a little snug kind of in the forefoot pinky side. Similar to this one, I feel like the Salomon shoe is more because of angling of the toe box. This one, I think it's just kind of like low volume here. This is almost feels like a racy type fit, especially in the front of the toe box here. I think my Euro sizing, I typically have a 43, and I think that, you know, it's European, okay, so it has to be standardized. I think that tracks to an actual foot measurement, whereas US sizing, imperial sizing, doesn't track to anything. I believe my foot is 26.5 centimeters, and that tracks to a 43 or 42.5. Okay, I'm gonna have to double check that. So I'm 42 2/3, and it just feels like it's a little bit snug. I feel like I could probably, if I go up that half of a Euro size, which is I think what they generally recommend with Euro sizing, 43 seems to work for me. So again, 42 2/3 in my US 9 here. So I may be a third of a size short in the shoe. So that may lead me to thinking that in this particular Arcteryx model, I may need true to size, even though across their model line, they generally run large. I cannot give definitive advice on arcteryx sizing because this is the only arcteryx shoe I've ever run in, and it's a Gore-Tex shoe. That's another aspect, and it's kind of a pretty narrow, streamlined upper. So I can't give across the board arcteryx advice. Maybe if they come up with some other shoes for testing, I can go ahead and do that. I did get a question about the Salomon model, Salomon Pro. I inquired about that. They said they don't have sample availability at the moment, probably sometime in the summer. So maybe in the summertime I'll get to run in another arcteryx shoe. Forgot my point there. I was talking about lacing. I haven't tried this yet. I was thinking about all these lacing situations for this Q&A session that I was going to talk about. Pulled this shoe out. Full review's up on Road Trail Run. My video is up there on the run testing with the UltrAspire stuff. I pulled these out and I said, you know what? I'm going to try them again, but I'm going to just skip the bottom lacing. So I could do box lacing where I don't go across here, but in this case, I feel like it's so snug and secure. I really don't need any tightness in this area at all, and to try to at least mitigate this kind of squeezing on my pinky as much as possible, I just went ahead and skipped the lower eyelets. And I tried them on inside the house, haven't run yet again, and it felt kind of better. So we'll see on the run if this helps a lot, but that's another option. If you're very snug up front, you can also just bypass the lower eyelets. Oh. All right, moving on. Gonna talk about the UltrAspire BLODDLE. I've had this in for test for a little while. In the last Q&A, I forgot to demonstrate. Here is the BLODDLE elements here. We've got this hose. It has a cool disconnect here. And this is your standard 42 millimeter cap. This is what comes with it. It's 800 milliliters, 27 ounces here. They also have, in a similar kind of shape, this is a 500, standardized 500 flask next to the 800 here. What I talked about in my video, what I love the shape of this. It kind of widens out and it's flat on the bottom. It doesn't have like that kind of cup on the bottom as a lot of them do. And I just feel like it sits very flat up against the chest. So when I had this, when I was running in the Alpha, I typically don't like front chest bottles. And this bottle I also tried in my Instinct vest. And that one is, I feel like I like the high bottle situation with that vest, and in conjunction with this flat kind of bottom and this just general wide shape of it, it seems to like ride and hold on the chest very securely. So a couple of BLODDLE options. I did an IG reel with this one. I've got the Instinct belt here. What I did is put a BLODDLE in the rear part of it, route the hose through a couple of these loops, and then just tuck it in here. Sometimes like you have a waist belt and it's kind of like a pain to like pull it out, especially if you have a soft flask in one of these kind of fitted belts. It can be a little tricky sometimes to kind of finagle it in and out. In this scenario, this is assuming, you know, you have a shorter run or whatever. You just want to, you know, it's hot, it's summer, summer's coming at least. Maybe you want to carry just 16 ounces and you don't want to be fumbling around. You can just pull the hose up. Check out my IG video. I'll link in the description below. I'm running pretty good clip. I think I'm running around 7:30, 8-minute pace in that video, holding a camera in one hand and just taking the hose out, drinking in one operation with one hand. So very easy. I've got the Alpha vest. Nice and salt crusted. As you can see, I've been testing this. I am a salty sweater. My last run, I took this 27 ounce flask. I went out for about an hour and a half. So 27 ounces over an hour and a half, that's a pretty good amount. Instead of putting a full kind of hydration bladder in the back, and also kind of maybe having two soft flasks on my chest for kind of only an hour and a half, I just took this, threw it in the back, kind of in place of a hydration bladder. You have nice routing here, and then I just tucked it into one of these pockets. I mean, this is just easier to clean than a hydration bladder. So for your kind of everyday runs, hour to 2 hours, this is a decent amount of water. Maybe you can throw an extra small flask in there somewhere You don't have to worry about cleaning out a bladder, or if you don't like those soft flasks on your chest. Another thing I did, and this was in my Arcteryx UltrAspire video, is I stuck this BLODDLE in the kangaroo pocket here. Lower back is one of the best and most bounce-free, secure areas to store a volume of water, fluids, or weight. So this is great. Tuck that in there. They have these kind of routing things here. Talk about this in my video, and that's another way to use the BLODDLE. This is excellent. Carry a solid amount in your lower back, which I find is probably the most secure area, most bounce-free area. Also, I have another option. Same thing. This is a lightweight Patagonia vest. It's just really nothing to it. When I go and do my road workouts, I've been doing hill repeats recently. Long ones, like say 5-minute hill reps. These workouts add up. I'm out there for an hour 15 during the course of my reps or whatever. Of course, I try to jog all the way back down to the bottom. It's a lot of time out there, and you're doing fast intervals, fast, hard reps, high effort. I don't want to be doing that with hand bottles, and I definitely don't want to be running fast, high effort with soft flasks around here. So I'll either have the 500 or even this larger 800 here, and I'll do the same thing. I'll have this one in the kangaroo pocket, route this through one of these little thingies here, put a little magnet on the front, and then I'll do pretty much a road workout with a bottle here, so I could really like recover in between the reps. I don't have to worry about like getting a bottle out or stashing a bottle in the corner on the side of the road and maybe not getting it until I'm at the top or the bottom or in the middle or wherever you stash your bottle. I just have it right with me, so I can make sure, okay, I'm running an hour, at least I'm getting 16 ounces of fluids in during the course of a workout, which I think is essential. High effort, you want to hydrate, helps you recover better. Moving on from the BLODDLE here. This next question comes from Right Mind Fitness. Curious to know about the cushioning. This is talking about the Mafate X here. Is it as soft as the Mafate 4s? I've noticed a lot of the recent releases of Hoka are becoming a lot firmer. Thanks. Okay, so this shoe, massive stack, $49.41, but it is not a soft shoe. Go ahead and take a look at my A/B test run between this one and the gravel. This is a way softer shoe. This shoe is softer than the Mafate 4 here for sure, but still, this is a very cushy in terms of like some of the recent Speed Goat models, and certainly the Mafates before this one. This is definitely the softest one. This profiled layer here, very soft. A little, I think a little firmer down here, but you kind of get that sink in cushion feel with this shoe that you don't get with this shoe. This shoe has the carbon fiber plate. I'm trying to flex it here. Okay, I'm trying. This one. Okay, totally different shoe. It has Mafate in the name, but this shoe, despite the higher stack, you've got that puma layer here, primarily under the forefoot, and I think it extends back here in the middle and the plate. So I feel like it has a very dynamic, bouncy feel. The plate plus the puma really gets off the ground quick, but you never feel like you're sinking into like a deep level of cushion. So this is a totally different shoe than the Mafate Speed 4 there. Let's move on. We have a question about 005 breathability. How's the breathability on these? Can't seem to find this in reviews anywhere. Australia is hot and humid. Check my wet test video. I did a wet test video between this Prodigio Pro and the 005. In the beginning of that video, I do my standard, this is not my standard, but kind of a blow through test. You kind of, that's a way to kind of gauge breathability. I would call this 005 probably a moderate, in the moderate range, medium breathability. Okay, it's not the most breathable. I mean, if you take a look at a shoe like this is a road shoe, you can see through the shoe. Okay, this shoe is obviously breathable. Same thing here. This is the Sky 2. You could see through this shoe. Okay, Puma here, let's check this one. It's definitely a tighter weave mesh. Certain sections are more breathable. You could kind of see through this mesh right here. around the logo. This is kind of like an overlay. There's different areas, but this is kind of a full weave. There are no open areas. There's pros and cons to that. This is going to allow less debris into the shoe. You know, you're going to get fine dirt and sand into this one. Same thing with this Sky 2. It's going to be more breathable, but you're going to let a lot of stuff in and out. I feel like this is about medium. You know, it's not super thick. It's a single layer kind of here. You have a layer, a mesh layer on the inside. It's not a full single layer, actually. Excuse me there. There's a kind of a fabric-y layer on the inside, engineered mesh, and then this Dyneema outer layer here is a weave. So I could breathe through there pretty good. I mean, I would say medium to good in terms of breathability. He also mentioned he's in Australia, hot and humid. A light colored shoe, like this is how it is out in Idaho, okay? When I'm running in most areas, there's no trees, especially when I'm training. Some of the races in the mountains definitely could have some trees, but in my kind of training areas, fully exposed. That's the reason why I prefer a light colored shoe. I mean, dark colored shoes are going to feel hot. It's not just about the breathability, it's also about the coloring of it. Being that I would say this is medium to medium plus breathability, plus the fact that it's a light shoe, I have no concerns on that regard with this shoe. I'll be racing in this shoe. I'm planning, I have 100K lined up, I think in June. This is the shoe I'm going to wear for that 100K. Actually, this is my 10. I'm going to wear my 10.5 with the TPU insole that I talked about in a different video. That's going to be my race shoe. Before I get into what's new and in for testing here, I want to mention that I did start up a Humble Running Substack site, I believe it's called. Just a place for me to kind of consolidate some of the things that I do, videos that I do on YouTube, stuff that I post on Instagram. I post snippets like the BLODDLE thing. I had a little clip of that. I do the full kind of A/B testing on YouTube. Kind of want to use that channel being the Substack, as a place to kind of send out updates. There's a way for you to sign up for a newsletter. I plan to do it bi-weekly at this particular moment. I don't want to spam anybody and just be sending every single post I send, okay? If you're into that, maybe go on Instagram. If you're into watching the longer kind of videos, you've got YouTube. And then if you kind of want to see what's happening and check in once in a while, the Substack may be a place for that. Every couple weeks, you'll get an update. Okay, this and that came out. Check out this video. And then you could kind of pick and choose what you want. Different people consume different types of content at different speeds. Instagram is like boom, 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 flash, 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 blah, Instagram. YouTube, okay, you're on your couch. People like to do that. Maybe you want to pick and choose. Maybe you like to read. Just kind of peruse what's new. Sign up for the newsletter. I also have some kind of affiliate links, and if I get any discount codes in the future, I always want to save you money. A lot of these shoes, you know, I get them in for testing. It's great for me, but I know a lot of you are spending money on these shoes, so I had a 20% discount code from Backcountry. Actually, it wasn't a discount code. It was a full kind of site discount. So click through my link at times, and that will send some affiliate bucks my way. It keeps the kind of channel rolling. It helps out a little bit. I noticed a couple people took advantage of that, so I got a little bit from the discount. You save 20% on stuff that you would have already purchased anyway, so win-win for everybody. So again, sign up for the newsletter if you like, or not. If you just like following along on YouTube or, you know, following on Instagram, do what you wish. It's just another avenue. All right, moving on here. This one comes from Row of Mushy Tit. Will you be testing Kiger Wild Horse 10? They got released without much press. Yes, okay, so Nike trail announcement here, September 9th, 2024. TRE was in late November. None of these shoes were on display, okay? I've run in ancient version of the Kiger and the Wild Horse. I'm not sure. I think I ran in the Kiger 8 or 9. That shoe just ballooned up. You know, I remember I had run in 4 and maybe 5 and 6, and it was a lightweight kind of speed shoe, and it just ballooned into something else. I really stopped paying attention. Nike has been really just out of the game, unfortunately, for a while. Wild Horse, the same thing. I think I forgot what was the last version I ran in, maybe 6 or 7, and it was just kind of like a big trainer here. This release was put out on September 9th. You can see the Kiger looks really cool, I gotta say. Based on the pictures, Vibram Mega Grip is coming to the Kiger 10. Very cool. Looking forward to that. I actually have a shipment from Nike on the way, due to arrive today, so perhaps this is waiting on my front door at the moment. We'll see. Vibram Mega Grip, definitely lower to the ground. I'm looking at the pictures. It looks like one of those older Kigers. I'm actually very excited about this shoe. Again, I haven't even looked at Kiger in the past couple of years. I had one that had a air bubble in there somewhere, and it just felt really wonky. Didn't like it at all, so excited to try this one on. The Wild Horse 10 does not have Vibram. It has Nike Trail ACG, all conditions grip, I'm guessing, on that one there. It kind of looks like the Zagama, but maybe a lower Zagama. It has React foam, React X foam, okay, so not Zoom X foam. That shoe, it looks more streamlined than previous Wild Horses, I have to say. That one I'm a little kind of iffy about. Again, I'm talking about just looking at pictures here. If that weight is competitive, that could be a very cool shoe. Definitely have to see what that one comes in at in terms of weight. The Zagama 2, again, I tested that shoe. As you know, not one of my favorite shoes. It's just, it's bulky. The Zoom X is great, very soft, but I feel like it's a lot of it. It's too heavy. So perhaps if this React X has some of the softness of it, but not too much, and it's not as heavy as that model generally is, this could actually be a very cool shoe. So Wild Horse and Kiger 10. I have something from Nike on the way. I don't know which one it is, so when I get it, I'll let you know. Alright, moving on. Something new from Scarpa. Somebody asked me about this. This is the Spin Ultra 2. It comes up on Scarpa USA's website as coming soon. I reached out to Scarpa and they said they have limited samples, and I gave them my size, and fingers crossed that they have something in my size, and I might have that on my feet. Checking the website real quick, they say they have a TPEE midsole in that one. Now, TPEE is what Norda has here. TPEE is a great foam. I don't know what variety they have or how it's going to feel in comparison to this shoe, but that's very exciting. So that looks like a cool shoe to try out. Also in for test, I've got these Komperdell poles, okay? Check out my Instagram reel, my latest reel that I put out on these. These are self-deploying. Very interesting. I've got my regular Lecky poles here, and you can see, you know, these are regular poles. You know, these are great poles, cool poles. You know, you gotta put them together and take them apart, you know, like normal running poles. And you got these poles here. If you haven't watched my Instagram reel, let's see what they are. I gotta strap them together. That's one thing I have to work out. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. So you wouldn't do that sitting in a chair typically, but they do self-deploy. You saw that? This is a little different scenario. So I have not tested these yet. I have a race coming up, so I have a non-hiking pole race coming up on Saturday, which I will talk about in a sec. So I haven't been able to get these out, but next week I'm gonna start trying these. Obvious considerations here. This is under tension, okay? So they're not gonna just stay closed like this. So that's gonna be a big part of my testing. I'm not sure, do I have to use these to kind of keep them together? Okay, like, yeah, I mean, that could work, but I don't know. Is this gonna be annoying? I don't know. Have to test them out. Again, yeah, there they go. That's a time saver. All right, moving on. Shoes that I'm continuing to test. The K-Boy put out a video having some issues with the front of that shoe. I had to shelve them. That testing is taking me longer just due to the fact I was getting some kind of insole rubbing, not the insole, midsole irritation on my foot. Check out my video on that one. Little tricky shoe to test out. That one's ongoing. Merrell Vapor Glove Boa. That's another shoe I have in for test. Haven't been able to put miles in that one yet. Mount to Coast T1. Look for that review. More content on that one. Early June. It's going to be a while, so I've got a couple, 2, maybe 3 test runs in that shoe. Nice. VJ Ultra 3. See when that one comes in. Okay, Saturday I'll be running the Race to Roby Creek, a half marathon in town. We've got 2146 feet of vert, 1756 down, 8.7 miles of that is on dirt. Check out the course profile there. Big climb out of town, big bombing downhill on the way to the finish. 165 feet of elevation gain per mile. I ran the race last year for the first time. 125, good for 6th place. My last video, I was checking out options for the race. This is the shoe I wore last year, 2024. This is the shoe I'm going to run this year in 2025. Check out my video for all the considerations that went into me choosing this shoe. Essentially, I think the shoe is going to be faster given the weather conditions. It has been a bit dry for a while. It's going to stay like this through Saturday, probably, and beyond. So given those types of dry conditions, it's going to be dry dirt. I think this shoe will be faster if I was running to qualify for the Olympics or eke every second out. This is not the type of course to be going for half marathon PBs, by the way. This shoe feels really good as far as a trail shoe. It's heavier than this shoe, of course, but I want to try this shoe in a race scenario and see how it feels. See if I would want to use this in longer, legitimate trail races. Okay, this is going to be, it's on a dirt road and a bunch of road out of town in the last final section there. So check out that video again if you want to see all the considerations that went into me choosing the shoe. Finally, 2 weeks after that race, again, Heaven's Gate, I'm going to be running. I'm going to start testing some poles. Very steep. Check out the elevation gain, the elevation profile there. 7,600 feet plus 399 feet per mile over 19.2 miles. I ran the race last year. It took me 4 hours and 3 minutes. So as soon as Roby Creek is over, which is Saturday, maybe even Sunday, I will do a recovery hiking pole kind of shakeout session or whatever after that race. Really, over the next 2 weeks, I got to get into the poles, got to get into steeper terrain. I went into that race last year. I don't have my Catamount Agile, so I wore Catamount Agiles, and I was choosing between that one and the Skyfire 2. Catamount Agile felt a little bit more cushioned underfoot. That's kind of where I went with that. You can see the profile on the way back down to the finish line. Very steep. Skyfire 2, I feel like, is a great kind of, you know, flat kind of cross-country vertical shoe, but there's just not much there in terms of going downhill. That's why I went with the Catamount Agile. Going back to the poles, I went into that race having not used my poles since the previous fall. Big mistake. As soon as we got to that section and it was so steep, like, I started cramping in my legs, not from, you know, like electrolyte imbalance, just from not having been on steep terrain at all and not having taken the poles out of my closet since the previous fall. So big mistake. I'm gonna try to get the poles in at least, you know, week and a half, that solid 2 weeks before the race. This is gonna be my pick for that race shoe. Similar to the Catamount Agile, I feel like this has more cushion than the Catamount Agile and also more flex. I got some pain around my midfoot in the Catamount Agile. I think that kind of Skyvault version was a little bit stiff around the midfoot. As you can see, there's a carbon fiber plate in here, but it's very flexible. I ran the shoe 2 days ago just to kind of get a feel out again. Plan to do it running in this shoe a bit more over the next couple of weeks. I might end up doing an A/B test video, maybe this one, Catamount Agile. We'll see if I get the Kiger or the Wild Horse. If I get the Kiger, maybe I might have to put that shoe up against this one. I don't know. We'll see. If the Kiger, you know, knocks my socks off, I might have to run in that one, but we'll see. As of now, the pick for that at just shy of 400 feet per mile of elevation gain is going to be the Sky 2. Look around. Did I forget anything? No. That's a wrap for this Q&A session. I think this one was a bit shorter. Trying to get these in a little bit quicker, not so spaced out so they don't take forever. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments or anywhere. Get onto the Substack, leave some questions and comments there. I'll try to consolidate them into the next one. Any questions at all, feel free to fire away. As usual, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next question and answer.